this is now a problem that you no longer have.
Yes.
Fixing the hair. How does the
Well,
hair?
I don't know. I got plenty of hair I got to fix here still,
It's
Michael.
true. It's a whole nother concern. Whereas I'm getting there. All right. So here's what I wanted to discuss with you. You were finding our work to be helpful. Tell me more.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I've been in this industry for a long time, right? 5, 6 years, and I know what I'm doing, right? And I've long been in the type of role where communication is important. It's always been a critical piece of my work. Um, I've got a touch of the old ADHD, Michael. So I tend to occasionally, I've been accused of rambling when I'm telling a story. And so as I've moved up and forward with my career, developing a clearer communication as the level of the individuals that I'm communicating with has risen. That's become more and more important. And I think that in the time that we've spent together, it's enabled me to have a better sense of where I'm at in the conversation, how on task, how on point, how on topic I am. It's given me toolkits for driving the conversation forward in the way that I'm looking for, and in the way that both parties are looking for, really, I think, is a critical piece. And also help to reaffirm a lot of the confidence that I have, right? I think you start any new role and you feel like there's something missing, right? You're like, you move. My prior role, I was there for 5 or 6 years, right? And had been working with that tech stack for a bazillion years in a bazillion different contexts. So there was like nothing about it that I didn't know or didn't have real mastery over, or didn't feel real mastery over, too, right? And in starting this new role, new company, A, new people that I'm working with, B, new tech that I'm working with, C, right? And so lacking some of that confidence, I think exacerbated my issues, if only because of the lack of confidence, right? And so in spending the time together that we have and doing the work together that we have, I feel like it allowed me to ramp up faster and to a higher level, to more effective communication, and to find my voice within the company and feel more confidence about it. And I think now that I'm leading instead of following, and leading others instead of leading myself kind of blindly through the dark. So that's felt really good, man. So
Dude, that's amazing. I love to hear that. What kind of business outcomes has that driven or enabled?
it's a good question. So I think here at Alora, I'm speaking to like a totally new set of types of organizations, right? Crypto organizations, I understand. Enterprises, to some degree, I understand. I'm talking to much larger and much broader scale and size and priority, higher priority organizations now, and also just totally new types of developers that have totally different interests and pressures and goals. And so having some of those toolkits and some of the like fallback behaviors of start asking more questions, right? Get them talking. Um, do your spiel, keep it tight, get in, get out, give them what they need to know. And obviously there's a number of other things, but I think those are that's meat and potatoes, right? That's meat and potatoes. And helping
So,
craft what those narratives are. That's made, I think, the largest difference in terms of business outcomes. It's closing larger deals, um, getting from step A, which is initial conversation, to step B, which is okay, cool. Instead of it being, let's talk again, let's do this, let's figure this thing out. It's like, okay, cool. We're leaving this conversation knowing what clear next steps are, having that aligned, going into those things a bit more prepared, and making more of the time where that during that initial call.
got it. Yeah, it's clarifying, getting to the root of the problem, establishing. Effectively, it's a tightened up and mature sales process
Yeah,
implemented.
absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit more about the finding of your voice and crafting the narrative. What was that journey like for you? What were some helpful things or big moments in there?
Yeah, man. Great question. I think with any new tech, you need to figure it out and have a clear understanding of it for yourself. For me, I always really want to have mastery over it, right? Totally novel stuff here at Alora versus something like a Chainlink, right? Totally new set of considerations, totally new interactions. and having to like A/B test and work with the different organizations to figure out like how do I summarize this in a way that is credible to them, to their ears, easily understood, having the ability and the confidence to develop that context ahead of time. That's been really useful. That's sort of like the in the game, on the field kind of thing. And then working directly with you to talk about things like what's that messaging look like, right? You know, you're a smart guy, Michael, but I wouldn't expect you to know in-depth details about collective intelligence networks that are distributed across whatever. You know what I mean? Like this
I didn't
specific.
used to know as much as I know
Yeah.
now.
Oh God, now you want a job? I'll bring you on. You could run this. So no, but so working with you to work on that sort of framing and that pitch and that collective intelligence kind of quote. I lean so heavy on that. I lean so heavy on that, right? That's the core of my description. And so
For anybody who's going to be listening to this later, can you provide a little bit of context there?
yeah, absolutely. So Alora, the long term for it is the self-improving decentralized intelligence network. I come back to like describing like, well, what does that mean? It is the mechanism by which, and we are the framework by which you leverage the connect or collective intelligence of multiple machine learning models. When I stated at the outset, I lead with that, and I show them how it works, and then I bring it back again. It's about collective intelligence. Having that framing and thinking about that and having that little pitch there that
You're
really
referring to
has
the first session that we had when we dove in there?
yeah, man. It was like how the fuck do I tell people what this
Wait,
is and what it
can you
does?
describe what that first session was like and
Oh,
where you
dude.
started and what we ended up landing with and how that was helpful?
Yeah, I struggle to remember exactly what the initial pitch was like, but it was like describing it to you how it worked and giving you this like it was very early on. It was shortly after I started. It must have been I started in February. It must have been late March that you and I
Sounds
started
right.
working together, maybe early April at the latest, something like that, right? So it was very fresh early on in my tenure here, and so like running this pitch by you, and you're like, that doesn't make a lick of sense to me, right? And the thing is, like a lot of these orgs that I'm talking to, that actually I think the most difficult one for me to speak to has been the orgs that are AI native or are machine learning native but aren't crypto native because they're the most skeptical, right? They're the people that I need to speak with the most confidence and authority to, outside of say like enterprises. Like I'm not going to name names, but outside of enterprises, they hear me talk about crypto, they get that, right? They're beginning to get that. I have talked to enterprises about crypto all day, so I know how to frame that to them. But in speaking to these organizations that ML AI is their meat and potatoes, it's their bread and butter, it's critical that I come across to them as a credible, clear communicator who understands what they're concerned about, who understands what I'm talking about, and also that I don't expose the pieces of it where they clearly know a lot more than I do, because I don't need to know everything, but I need them to know that I get it and that I have a solution that's valuable for them to engage with, right? So, but yeah, the early stages of it was like, this is my pitch, and you're like, dude, it's so zoomed in, so technical, like which works for my validators, these infrastructural providers that I work with, but it didn't work
It's
on so
not
many
something
other
that you
people.
can open up a go to market conversation with
No, man, absolutely
and
not. No.
save time with and get right to the point with. And so what did we land on? Like what was the process of landing on that and how was that helpful for you?
Yeah, I mean, my recollection is that you continued asking me questions. What is this? How does this thing work? Like not like from a technical perspective, but like the conceptual portion of like how does this work? Why does that matter? What's the value to them? Right? I mean, was it an A16Z article that was about selling in a down market?
Yeah,
Um,
it's the A16Z with force management selling in a downturn where they lay out the four value drivers and what they are, and then aligning those answers with which bucket of the value drivers is going to be most, you guys are going to be able to drive the most value in.
yeah, absolutely. And so bearing those things in mind and asking those questions and thinking about like, why should these people care? What is the UVP here? It was a lot of, it was like, it felt like hand-to-hand combat, man, until we arrived at this sort of like nucleation point
We
of
took
like the,
5 minute thing down to 5 words,
yeah, that
if I
was
remember.
exactly it. That was exactly it, man. And really, like, that's what I lean on. That's the, like I said, that's the nucleation point. Now I start with that and make it clear that everything else around that explanation is relating back to that, and then I circle back on that. So,
And it's been working, it sounds like, for those AI ML native companies and established enterprises alike.
oh,
That's great to
100%.
hear. What, like, before we started working together, can you share a little bit about what brought you in? What was going on for you prior to us starting?
Yeah, man. So being a startup, right? You got to wear a bunch of different hats, right? I've got my piece that focuses on this technical infrastructure stuff, and my work there is pretty focused. I'm way on top of that. I know how to talk to these people. I know what their concerns are, right? Easy. I do that in my sleep. But in the beginning of these BD conversations, these sales conversations with the kind of the new orgs that I've been engaging with, the new types of orgs that I've been engaging with, I was lacking the clarity of focus around what their concerns are, right? And lacking the ability to really know the types of questions to ask them to get towards those answers, right? Of like, what are their concerns? How do you ask them this type of thing? Because the market maker has different concerns than a quant trading firm has different concerns than an ML development shop. You know, those people all want different things. And those are all by and large things that I haven't worked at any one of those. I haven't worked, well, now at this point, I have worked with many of them. Yeah, I mean, it was a matter of like, okay, I need to be speaking to authority to all these new types of orgs, and I wasn't. You know, I don't, you know, I was had borked a couple conversations, and uh,
What is
don't
what
know,
does that look like? Borked a couple
dude,
conversations.
just like way off topic or like not understanding what their concerns were, and just like losing them really quickly, which is was a very unfamiliar feeling for me. It was not something that I've had the feeling of many times, and doing it like in front of my CEO, that's a bummer. That's a pretty big bummer to do that. And then, you know, fast forward, like training people on pitches and
Hmm.
leading these calls that, with high value clients, and having that all just be stuff that's like, don't worry, like Eric's got that. So
Wow.
the shift from then has been really, it's felt good.
Yeah.
So
Can you share a little bit more about that shift? What has stepping into your power as a leader and effectively enabling other leaders, what has that been like intra organization?
yeah, I mean, I think it's confidence in yourself, having it start there, and then having it, I mean, knowing that you've got it, right? Knowing that you've got it and having data to show it, and then having it be clear that everybody else knows it too, right? Them having the confidence to be like, yeah, cut them loose on this one, cut them loose on this totally new lane of business, right? So now working with these external third party ML development orgs of all sorts of different types, basically like, okay, cool, go set strategy, go win them. And it's just like, it's just me doing it. So pretty big shift from like, hey, you know, back in bottom of February or whatever, being like, you screwed up a couple calls, screwed up
Yeah.
a couple deals here. Let's get you some sales enablement training or that type of thing. To like, hey, here's a whole new thing that's critically important. Go figure it out. So
No hand holding required. In
I
fact,
mean,
we
no
don't we're
time
not
for
even
any either. But
and we're not even worried about it. So enabling more of the business, removing a lot of friction there in the business, allowing you guys to move forward. What
yeah,
would you
man.
say? How would you sum up this experience? Obviously, we've still got work to do, and we're going to keep on working. Love serving you and Laura, but how would you sum up this experience thus far?
Yeah, man, Michael, it's been great. Like, getting to know you has been fantastic. You're a hell of a guy. I really
Likewise.
look forward to the time. I look forward to the time that we spend together. Right? It's been exciting to be able to go from these sort of headline issues of like I'm having this type of issue consistently on calls, to what is this fine-tuning messaging, or like rather getting broad strokes for clearer messaging done, to fine-tuning messaging to like, hey, I'm having this type of issue with intra-org communication. Having those issues get smaller and smaller and scoped tighter and tighter, and to it being like I said, from these really concerning headline issues to like fine details, right? That, I think, from a perspective of what it's been like for me in engaging with it and like what I'm worried about and what I'm getting out of it, that's been a big part of it. And then, but I think working with you has been, I mean, A, like I said, it's a ton of fun. And B, it's clear to me that you have like a robust mastery of like the frameworks of communication, and like how do you engage with different types of folks. It doesn't matter what it is that they do. It doesn't matter what type of work it is. It doesn't matter where they sit. Are they above you? Are they below you? Are they way more important than you? Are they not interested already? Like, how do you win them? That's been cool to learn a lot of those things, because I've long considered myself a charismatic, clear communicator. Well, maybe not clear communicator, but charismatic and effective
We've
communicator.
always got work to do in every area.
Yeah, no shit.
Kaizen applies everywhere.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I've long considered myself a strong communicator, but in honing that edge, it's given me a lot of confidence to do that other places too. So I've enjoyed that quite a bit.
Applied anywhere outside of work? Like any of this skills, mindsets, identity shifts applied beyond the workplace?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships, in like the ability to like more clearly identify what it is that somebody's looking for if they're not comfortable saying it, or if they're not able to say it, or if they're not sure if they know, even falling back on asking those questions and like telling a clear story about who you are when you're meeting somebody for the first time. That's been valuable for me. That's been really valuable for me, especially, or I mean, over the summer. You go into why, but anyway, so yeah, it has been. It's been
Empathy
fun.
and clarity.
Yeah,
Always
man. That's
helpful.
what
And
it's all
yeah,
about.
always another layer. I continue to find that just it's like the line from Godfather 3, which is really now sort of from The Sopranos. Just when you thought just when you thought you were out, they pull you
Pull
back
me back in.
As soon as you think you've reached another level and you're like, I'm good, you're going to get a huge test from the universe or from God in any one of these areas. Yeah, it is a continual practice. We got to remind ourselves. Dude, this is awesome. Anything else you want to share with anybody who's going to watch this video, considering taking the plunge to come work with me, thinks that they don't need to or it's not worth it?
My entire life, I've made all my money on being a strong communicator. My whole life. I think it's largely been how I've achieved any measure of success. Is, well, I'm smart and I'm good looking too, which doesn't hurt. But even if you are objectively a strong communicator, there's always something you can learn, right? I've never had, other than in acute scenarios, what I believe to be like a lack of ability to project myself, my will, my confidence, like my charisma. I don't know that I've ever like chronically lacked that ability in my adult life. But in learning how to do that with you, Michael, I think the work that we've done together has allowed me to do that. Again, A, more rapidly, to ramp up here more rapidly. B, to do it with like more calm confidence, and to learn how to more rapidly figure it out what it is the other person is really looking for, what they're really concerned about, as opposed to just like telling my story and saying what I want, which usually works okay, but there's always there's always something. There's always, yeah. So I think that has been the piece of it for me that was difficult to swallow at first. So I was like, look, I know that I bork these two things or whatever it is, but I'm good at this. Like, this is what I do. But to come in and be like, oh wow, okay, there is a ton for me to learn. There's a ton for me to learn, and it's going to be good for me, and it's going to be fun. I try to retain the beginner's mindset, which at least made it easier for me to ramp up with you. But I don't know, man. I've really enjoyed it. I'm like kind of bummed that we're nearing the end of some of these, but we've still got some work to do, obviously, and I look forward to doing it with you. And then
only the end of an initial timeline, an initial investment, an initial game plan. We can figure out what the next steps look like. Dude, that's awesome. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your story here. I
That's
can't
my
wait to share
pleasure,
this
Michael.
with a bunch of people and find some more people similar to you to work with, because the pleasure has been, I don't want to say completely mine, but it's been extremely enjoyable to dig in with you thus far. All right, I'm
I
going to
got you.
stop this here in a second. Anybody who's listening to this, if you are in a similar position to Eric and you are looking to enhance your clarity, your messaging around your mission, and the value that your product, your service adds, so that you can communicate effectively with your ideal customers and not leave them wondering what you're talking about, get in touch with me. Love to help you with that. Go forth and speak boldly.